Welcome to the Cowgirls Country Radio Podcast. This episode of Cowgirls Country Radio is brought to you by Cowgirls Tavern, where live music, Southern eats, and Texas charm collide. On Cowgirls Country Radio Podcast, we spotlight rising stars and legends of country music. Today's guest is Katie Beth Mihm, who's making waves with her storytelling, soul, and Texas grit. Get ready for a deep dive into music, the journey, and the person behind the songs. All right, Katie. So who are you and where are you from?
So my name's Katie Beth Mihm, and I'm from the Amarillo, Texas area. I grew up in White Deer, Texas, and I grew up and went to college and got married, and here I am now between Borger and Fritz, Texas.
And when you're not doing your music, I think I saw that you do some ranching and some other things out west.
Yes, sir. My husband and I have got our ranch that we live on. It's right next to one of the 4-6 ranches. And so we've got horses, and we don't have any cattle right now, but we have some horses, and we have chickens and rabbits and kids and all the things.
Awesome. So I bet that keeps you busy with your with music and that. So that keeps you pretty busy. Yeah. So how did your music journey start? When did you start? And what's been going on with it?
So I would say it probably started about when I was 8 years old or so. My dad took me into a pawn shop to let me get my very first CDs I had ever had. And he told me I could get a couple, and he didn't mind what I got. So I remember I got a Patsy Cline CD. I got a Cher CD, a Dina Carter CD. I think I got Ace of Base and Nirvana and Aqua. I forgot about that. I had Aqua too. Yeah, it was kind of a good mix, but I took him home and started listening to him, and I was just amazed because growing up, I was only allowed to listen to Elvis. And so and maybe like Conway Twitty. I think I remember listening to Conway Twitty and Meatloaf. John Denver, that kinds of stuff. Okay. So I thought, wow, this music's really great and cool. And it's, I felt a little edgy because if my dad would have heard the Nirvana CD I got, he would have taken all my CDs away probably, but he didn't know. I turned down low, so he'd never hear it. But I realized then that there was different types of music, and that music could be fun, and it didn't have to be, I love Elvis, don't get me wrong, but I didn't realize music could be so much more than what I had been exposed to. And so I started singing when I was around 8 or 9 years old, and I would teach myself how to sing, and I would listen to like Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey, and I would learn teach myself how to do their pitches and their vibratos and things like that. I didn't know at that time that's what those things were called, but I would do that. And then whenever I didn't do music, I did choir a little bit when I was in school, and I loved that. So that was pretty much all the exposure I had as a kid to music. When I grew up and after I was done with college and everything, me and my husband we were on a date one night before we got married, and he asked me, we have another ranch in Childress, Texas. And so we were down in Childress, and we were filling deer feeders out on that property, and it was god awful hot. And my husband was like, hey, let's go into town, and there's a guy playing in town at this little barbecue place, and we'll get some food. And so we went to the place, and we found this man sitting at the bar, and he was eating right before the show, and it wound up being Rye Wolf. And so we stayed and we watched his show, and towards the end of his show, he went to take a break, and my husband was like, hey, my wife can sing, she can sing. And so Rye was like, oh yeah, sing for me in front of everybody at the place. And so I was like, oh my God. So I did. And after I was done, he told me, he's like, hey, I'm needing a female vocalist for my band. And he's like, my band is out of Amarillo, Texas. And he's like, I'd love to have you come practice with us and see if anything, turns out of it. So I was like, okay. So then I got scared because I was embarrassed because I had to sing in front of everybody. But then I got scared because it worked, and now I have to go do it.
Right.
It turned into a great blessing, and Rye Wolf has been a great mentor to me. And I sang with his band, the Prairie Hawks, for 2 years. And then one day things started kind of slowing down a little bit for the year. Rye told me, he said, I think you need to get your own band, and because I think you'll just stay so busy all the time. So I was like, I remember thinking in my mind, that is the worst idea you could have ever told me, because I had just settled into a band, and then, being the lead singer of a band is a whole different thing. So
But you had your first album out already.
he helped me with my first album, so West Texas Gypsy was my first album out. And he's like, man, I believe in you and I think you can do this. And I'm like, you are out of your mind. So I was like, okay. So we prayed about it and here I am. Here we are now, and things have been we've been blessed so huge. It's not even funny as far as, coming from a really small town and basically being a little small town little girl nobody. And now we're all over the world, our music, and we've wrote that music. And so it blows my mind that has happened. And so I'm still trying to grasp my mind around all of that, but it's been cool.
That's a great story. I actually interviewed Emma James. She's from kind of the Corpus Christi areas, the other side of the state, right?
Yeah.
So her journey, she's only 17 now, but she picked up and was playing piano and then switched to guitar about 8-9 years old, and then has continued that forward. And she did her first, she was telling me her first gig was at 13-year-old girl.
Gosh, I can't even imagine. I remember at 13, I was still singing in my hairbrush.
So yeah, it was incredible. So that's a incredible story. So you start young and then later in life picked it all back up, and it was just kind of it's interesting. It was just kind of a fluke. You went out and boom, here you were thrust into music again.
Yeah, I tell him all the time, or we tell our kids, never did we think that our dream would come true like after we were grown. I guess you think about your dreams coming true, and usually that happens when you're younger, I feel like. So I just remember praying about it, and I was like, God, if I'm really supposed to be a real singer, like a really, really good singer that's famous, like George Strait famous, please do that for me. And here we are now. So that's been great. It's been great.
So up until that point, before you guys went out that night, had you been thinking about it, or it just happened?
I had 2 songs written that I was doing nothing with. And it was a total God thing that we were there that day at the barbecue place, because we had an incident the day before that was going to keep us from going. And so I look back on that now and I'm like, what if we would have never gone to the barbecue place? We wouldn't maybe be here. So,
I think you were thinking about doing it because remember you tried out.
I had tried out for some stuff and I felt very, what do you call it? Oh, well, I was disappointed. I had tried out for American Idol.
Okay.
And then when I tried out for that, I was not writing my own songs yet. So I thought, well, maybe if I'm supposed to do this, I'll just go try out for American Idol and they'll just pick me, And so that wasn't the case. And I remember feeling so disappointed because I walked away from that and I saw people that should have been getting it and passing to the next round, and they weren't. They were picking people who sounded ridiculous, but it was on purpose to make fun of them publicly. And I just remember feeling the disappointment in that when I was there. So I came home from that and I didn't want to do anything else because I was like, oh man, this is terrible. Like, how do you break into show business? Because this sucks so far. Like, I'm not having a great time trying to do this. So I waited a couple years and then they had auditions for The Voice. And so I did a virtual one online because I couldn't make the location for an audition. So I thought, well, that's kind of terrible that I have to do this online, but hopefully they'll see that I'm a good singer and pick me. And they didn't. And so I was like...
That's kind of why I jumped in. I was like, don't do that stuff. We'll get in the Texas music scene. Yeah. I'm familiar with it.
So I way before we were ever married, we were just dating. And one day he was over at my house and I told him, I said, hey, I wrote a song. Do you want to hear it? And he's like, yeah, I'll hear it. So I sat down on my piano. I did the song for him. And I turned around and he's just got his mouth wide open and he's looking at me and he's like, that was great. He's like, you need to be a singer. And I was like, okay, great. Thank you. How do I do that? Like, are you kidding me? So he said, no, just let me handle it. He's like, I think I can help you. And he's like, really excited about it. And I thought, well, that's so sweet that he's getting excited. So I'll let him help me. Then we would always talk about, doing music and stuff like that. But then we went to the barbecue place shortly after that. And that's when all of that happened. So the rest was history, like literally.
Interesting. And if you were going to describe, say, you're a singer-songwriter, how would you describe your sound to someone who's never heard your music? What's kind of your...
Yeah, it's about like, I had a mentor tell me one time that I reminded him of a combination of like Roseanne Cash and Stevie Nicks. So my sound is well, I'm not gonna say necessarily just Texas country. It's country with kind of an Americana vibe to it. Honestly, like on accident, it's kind of happened where I have my own sound and my own little niche that I've kind of created for myself. So we would joke about it because Texas country would be like, oh, we can't take you. You're not Texas country, you're Americana. So then Americana people be like, no, you're too Texas country. So we joke about it that we made our own genre called Texicana. So because nobody knew what to do with me. So I was like, fine, okay, cool. Let's pull a bold move and make our own thing.
Yeah. Why not?
So it's worked great, and my music is very uplifting, and it's got that familiar old school like Bob Wills Texas country vibes. And who else would you say? Probably just you can hear a mix if you listen, like some Patsy Cline, Shania Twain, Dolly, Reba. These are all people. I mean, and then I don't know how to. I'm just different.
That's good. There's nothing wrong with that at all. That's great. So if you were going to, your songwriting process, how do you write? What gives you inspiration? Can you tell the audience kind of how that process works for you?
I'm trying to think. So usually what'll happen is I'll hear a melody first, and then I will come up with like a chorus, and then I'll build my song around kind of my main idea of my song. And so I think that's probably completely backwards from the norm because I had no previous experience writing songs. So to me, in my mind, it just comes barreling out and I put it to paper, and then we have these great, amazing songs. Sometimes my husband will be playing on his guitar and he'll come up with some really cool melody, and, I'll hear it and I'll keep hearing it over and over again. And I'll just put words to it, and then we'll sit down together and put it to paper and everything, and then do arrangements and stuff like that. So it's a very like organic, but kind of structure. I've made it an organic, but messy structure type of thing that works for me,
So, kind of with that said, is there any story behind them? Like your favorite song that you sing, is there, a story behind it, or, inspiration behind that song?
So actually, every single song that I've written or that we've written together has been a personal experience. Every single one of them. I feel like that's a better way that I can connect with my audience like I'm wanting to. And as far as my favorite one that we've done, that's a really hard question. I hate this question because we have so many good ones that we've wrote. I would probably Here I Go. Here I Go is currently number 5 in all of Europe's country music. And so that blows my mind because that's huge. And then, in Texas, it debuted when it came out at 100 on day 1. And then after that, we're in the top 50. So that's been huge. But Here I Go is a song I wrote it for my husband last year for our anniversary. And it's just about, because we've only been married for not even 3 years. And so it's just about being married and loving each other so much that you never, ever give up on each other, and just making it through to the other side and going through all the struggles and growing together and going through all the growing pains of that, but not giving up on each other. We really, we talk about it with people about this song and stuff of, I wanted to give something that was comforting to people being in love and being married, so that they didn't give up. And people have made it so easy, I feel like, to replace somebody. Like if you don't like somebody, just get divorced and go get somebody else, and I hate that mentality. And so it's just, I wanted to write something that was like a good message to people that would help them through a tough time.
Yeah, that's awesome. My wife and I just celebrated 10 years this year, and it's been an amazing journey. Well, thank you. And so 10 years, and it went by in the blink of an eye. And we have a little 6-year-old now, Asher, who's our world. But yeah, I know, it is. There's challenges in marriage, and that's great that you're trying to tell people to stick with it, because it's so important. You're right. People just give up too easily.
Oh, yeah.
So in your music, is there like personal themes or messages that, that's one obviously, but is there anything else that you're like trying to communicate behind your songwriting or your music?
So I think just my overall message in all of my music is God, hope of fulfilling your dreams and chasing after them, even when people tell you you can't, and proving them wrong, and just never giving up. I feel like every song that I've wrote, I try to give some kind of advice throughout the song to help somebody through whatever it is that the song is about. So, I think that's probably a pretty good way to put it.
I would say You Ain't No Cowgirl's not that. There's no advice in that one, but
there is advice in that one. He was talking about You Ain't No Cowgirl. So my advice in You Ain't No Cowgirl is I don't like bullies or mean girls. So don't be mean and ugly and expect somebody not to call you out on it.
Right.
Be nice, be good, be a good person in life. Okay. That's what that song's about.
Absolutely. So, I think with, I guess, something that you had just said was, giving up on your dream was kind of in the back of your mind before you went out to this bar and played. Was it always in your mind that, hey, I want to do music, but, other things in life kind of came first? Was that always there as like, hey, this is my dream? And then all of a sudden it just happened?
So I actually was in college right before I started singing. And so I had already graduated with one degree and I was finishing my second degree. And I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to go to medical school and be a veterinarian is what I was. And so I went to school at West Texas A&M University. And so I was working towards being, a vet. So I was in my very last school year before I could go to vet school. I had a lot going on, and I had, before me and my husband got married, I had 3 kids and he had 3 kids. And so I had a lot going on, and I was not thinking about music whatsoever. I felt it in my heart, a little part of my heart where I was like, man, I really wish I could have been a singer, and now I giggle about it because it's almost like God looked at me and was like, oh, you poor thing. It's okay. Well, just wait, So I took the semester off, and then that's whenever I met my husband and we went, and then all this stuff started happening. And so I decided to not go back to school and kind of just trust God and jump in with both feet. And I've trusted him every step of the way, and it has been a really great ride for sure. But I didn't ever want to, I had that dream. So I'm thankful. I'm so thankful that I got to fulfill it. I told my husband, if I had died tomorrow, I would have died fulfilling all my dreams in life. I did everything I ever wanted,
I think people before told you couldn't do it too.
Oh yeah, I had people before that to tell me your time in doing music has passed because you're a mom and you have kids and you have to make them your whole life and world and everything. And I love my kids. I love our kids. But like in our household, we always put God first, and I put my husband, next, and then it's the kids. So my husband's like, nope, you're going to do this. This is your dream and you're not going to give up. So I'm like, okay, it's just being obedient, in that.
That's awesome that my husband's encouraging that. So that's cool. What's something that's surprising about you, being a musician now that most people wouldn't expect? I always like to hear this perspective and ask musicians this because, I oftentimes hear the same thing, but I always like to get your take, everyone's different take on their musical. What's surprising about that has surprised them about, kind of making that switch to doing more performing and whatnot.
So something that's surprising, I feel like every year it's new things. So they're constantly changing. This year's surprise was I didn't realize it was going to be so hard getting bookings as a female artist. From my experience, we have venues sometimes that'll turn me down that won't even listen to me whatsoever.
Well, they've straight up said we don't book
females.
I'm talking country music places. Yeah. I'm like, but you played so-and-so or so-and-so. And they're like, oh yeah, but it didn't turn out good. So we won't,
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of an unfair disadvantage if they had one bad experience with somebody or they didn't have a great crowd turnout, then we all have to suffer because of it. So
it's interesting. I hear that all the time, and I actually prefer working with females to male, just because
Good
I don't
answer.
know. Because it's ego or something, but we've had more success with our female artists than we have our male.
Yeah.
At our venue, but it's called Cowgirls
That's
Tavern.
great to hear. That's good to hear. Yeah, that's good.
And so we enjoy booking females, and we prefer it. But I've heard what you just said a ton. So I actually just heard it this weekend, and then I heard it again today on my earlier podcast. So it's interesting to hear you say that. So that's too bad.
The Texas country scene is the worst about it. Of
Yeah.
all that, we have this thing and we're proud of it, and we're supposed to be better than everybody else. And, I didn't expect to see it come from there.
Another one also is that which I know it's not just us, it's everybody right now, is venues. A lot of times you have these big venues that want you to come, but they're not willing to pay you hardly anything because, they're probably the uncertainty of the turnout is a lot of it. Probably. I feel like musicians would try a lot harder if the venues were more concrete in paying better, because then they would attract better playing musicians, better quality musicians maybe. Because nothing's more disappointing than having a venue call you and say, okay, we'll pay your whole entire band, 5, 6 people. We'll pay you, $300 or whatever it is. And we're just like, that doesn't even cover, our gas or our practice time or if we have to travel really far away, like a place for us all to stay, which we always stay at Airbnb together, all of us. But yeah, it's been a struggle.
Yep. Post-COVID, things have been a little weird. And I think Bree mentioned that this weekend. We had Bree Bagwell here. She mentioned
we're friends with Bree. She's awesome. She's fantastic.
She is a sweetheart. I do love Bree. We had, and she mentioned that on stage. Hey, things are a little weird, but it takes everybody coming out and seeing them to really push. And, I can tell you from owning a venue, it is tough. We had to have a crowd, or we have a lot of risk, but I do believe in paying acts, and, it's part of the business. Sometimes you're not going to win every night or every show, but you just keep battling through it and it'll be all right. So, the other thing I hear, and you mentioned it, and a lot of people, I think, that come out to see shows, they don't understand is, yes, you have to rehearse. You have to get here. We have to do sound check on the day. I have to pay for lighting and production people to make sure that you sound really good during the show. So all these things go in, and it's a lot of work, right? And from your end, being a musician's a ton of work, right?
Absolutely.
And I don't think I think that's lost on a lot of people. But I think, if people understood how much it takes, I think that things might be a little different. But
and I know, like at most venues, we have to provide our own sound equipment a lot of time, like most of the time. And so we're having to rent a U-Haul trailer. We're having to unload and load all the sound equipment and do the sound stuff. And so that's just another job added kind of to it. So, yeah.
We created the venue so you guys could just come in and plug and play, right?
That is why y'all are my favorite people.
Well, we didn't want everybody having to lug it in, and it's just, it's inefficient. It's not good.
It really is a lot, especially if you're really far from home and you're tired from driving, and
absolutely,
it's a lot. It makes a long day for sure.
It does. So, what's your go-to ritual before hitting the stage or stepping in the studio? What do you have anything
So we'll get to before we get to the venue, we've already planned everything out. We've planned out our set list. We've planned what time we're going to start. We've planned our setup on stage. We've planned our whole set list. But when we get to the venue, we'll get everything set up and we'll go to do our sound check. And we always pray before our sound check together. And then we'll do our sound check. And then we usually eat together as a band. And, then we go put on a great show for everybody. So it's not a very exciting ritual.
No, that's fine.
Maybe like the day before, if I can have spa day, at my house in my shower, people leave me alone for 10 minutes and I can put like one of those little masks on my face in the shower. That's nice.
Have you ever had a moment when you're on tour or on a show that like kind of changed your outlook as an artist? I think you kind of maybe mentioned one with the bookings, but is there anything else that's been, wow, this is what I expected?
Yeah. So One time we had a show, and it's whenever I was with the other band singing on the road, and we had been asked to drive really far away from home. And we got there and we were opening for a band, and a pretty big name band. And we got there and they were the rudest people. They were so rude, and they, and just, we thought, we all are walking in and we're like, hey, y'all, what's up? And they just walked past us and we're like, okay, great. We'll see you later. But I realized that moment, how important it was. Cause there was even some fans that were trying to talk to them and they just kind of blew past them. And we put on our show that night and we were the opener, and we packed this place. Like, it was so packed. We put on one of the best shows of our life. It was 116 degrees outside. It was miserable, no hot. We put on the best show ever. And people were just responding great to the show. And whenever this other band went to get on stage, half of the people left. And so I realized in that moment that how important it was, whether you're a musician or a fan, number one, how important openers were for you. Because if you had a bad opener and you lost people, that's a thing. But if you were a great opener and then they didn't stay to hear you, or maybe they helped you in some way. But so I guess what I'm saying is I realized the importance of opening, and also on their end of the deal, I realized how important your people are that come to watch you, your supporters and your fans. Because if you're genuinely not a good person, at the end of the day, it don't matter if you have a whole stadium full of people. If they don't follow you and they don't like you, ultimately, you've got a huge problem. So I learned the importance of all of that in that moment of, wow, people are really paying attention to us. So we need to always be on our best, on our best behavior, always be great to everybody, whether it's the band you're working with or whether it's the people you're performing for.
So every artist kind of faces roadblocks. What's one you face, and how did you push through it?
A roadblock. I've really thought about this question today. I was reading over these questions earlier. A long time ago, before I was ever in music, I was diagnosed with lupus, with SLE. So I feel like as a singer now, I have to deal with that. I know there's other singers that have it also. I think Selena Gomez is one that has it. So most people, like, I know my fans don't know that I have lupus. So usually obviously my band knows and things like that. I don't make a big deal about it, but sometimes it's really challenging to stand. I have bone problems, or I have muscle problems, or I have to really be careful with my voice and things like that, because it affects my organs and my tissue and things like that. I feel like the struggle of, because sometimes I know, like a few months ago, whenever we had the Texas radio, the T3R awards, we had just got done doing like 5 shows in a row. And we went to that and we had a great time at that. And then the next morning I woke up in the hotel and I felt terrible. Like I was coming down with a cold, because that happens, with my immune system. And which that was a whole funny story in itself. Cody Canada was downstairs in our hotel, and I had gone upstairs to take a nap after breakfast, and he ran into Rusty and he's like, hey, where's Katie Beth? I want to talk to her. And I always wanted to meet him. And so that's the irony of that story is terrible, because I was upstairs asleep when he wanted to meet me and I couldn't meet him. So hopefully he's watching and I get to meet him again. But just being a musician is hard, and then being a musician with lupus is even harder. That's been my roadblock, kind of, is just making sure, like extra sure that I'm taking care of myself and paying attention to my body and things when I'm on the road.
And what's been kind of the proudest moment so far of your career? I think you kind of mentioned some earlier about Europe and kind of blowing up there.
Yeah, currently my proudest moment is we're number 5. We looked today in Europe on country music, and I was extremely excited because I looked at the chart and we were above really big name people like Lainey Wilson and stuff. And I love her music, and I've heard she's the sweetest woman ever. And so just to me, that's such an honor, because I know how hard she works. So to see me on there that close to number 1 right now is my current proud moment. For sure. Yeah.
And you ain't no cowgirl's climbing really fast on the charts.
Yes, it is. I completely, yeah. Ain't No Cowgirl is climbing the charts. Like, I mean, it's not just jumping right up there, but it's steadily moving through there. So that's going to be great. I can't wait to see. What are we mostly? We're top 100.
So on T3R, I think it's at 100 at Texas Country Music, like 99 or 100. Texas music chart, it's at 66. It's getting close to breaking top 50.
Yeah, so that's
and
exciting.
And then it's on the American country music charts too.
Yeah.
It's right at 100. It debuted on American.
So I mean, it's just everything we've put out is just been a blessing, seriously, to say the least.
That's cool. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
Don't take no crap from nobody. No, it would be, well, yes, that would be that. I wish that I would have started sooner. I wished I would have believed in myself more than I did. I wish that I would have pushed myself harder. I just didn't know what to do, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I didn't know where to get started and how all that works. But it would be to not give up on myself and to trust myself more and to cut myself a break, you know, give myself some credit. And I wish that I would have started writing when I was younger, because that's something that I've just done as an adult. So I wish I would have, when I was younger, I used to write stories and things like that, but I never thought about writing music. And I feel like that probably could have helped me through some tough times through junior high and high school if I would have wrote some good songs about it, you know? So,
do you enjoy writing? That's something that you really like as part of the process?
Yeah, I write songs pretty much every week.
Awesome.
So I'm always writing, always. My husband's always writing. We have a new song that he wrote, and I'm so excited because he wrote this song all by himself. But it's going to be great. We're fixing to get in the studio and start working on it. And it's going to sound kind of like an old-fashioned Hank Williams or Bob Wills song. And we're going to do kind of a timepiece period type of song. And it's about dance halls in Texas. And so it's going to be like this cool vintage honky-tonk type song. So I'm excited about it.
That's cool.
And I'm proud of you.
Yeah, and that, I guess that was a question. Do you mostly play acoustically, or do you have full band that you play with? How, you know, what's the...
So it just depends.
For shows, we do both.
Yeah, for shows, we do both. It just depends on the venue. With recording, we do a full band in recording. Most of the time, I just use my own band. Sometimes, like, we just got back from Nashville recently, and we recorded a new EP album. And so that'll be... I'm so excited. I feel like I have to hold a secret or something about it, but it's going to be so good. But we recorded that at Off the Row Studios in Franklin, Tennessee, with P.T. Houston and Aaron McCafferty. And so that was full band. So they used a Nashville band for that, and studio musicians. These are guys that have done stuff, you know, for Chris Stapleton and Rascal Flatts, and just, you know, they have
Chris Stapleton and Jamie Johnson
and stuff like that. So we got some great musicians for this new album. But if we're recording around the Amarillo, Texas area, we just usually use our own band or some studio musicians from Amarillo. But if we have a large venue, we'll do a full band. If we have a small venue, we'll usually do a trio.
Okay.
And then sometimes if we're doing like radio tour, usually it's just me and him. So we do everything.
Awesome. So I think we kind of touched on this, but what are your thoughts on the current state of the Texas country and independent music scene?
I love how you're smiling asking me this question. So I'm going to be very kind of gray about this, and you'll know why probably, but there's lots of politics and there's lots of animosity sometimes like going on. And so I try to stay away from all of that and stay, you know, people create hostile environments that are not very welcoming sometimes. And it's all just, I've seen it both ways. I've seen it go that way and be like that and a huge competition. And then on the other side of it, where I try to stay, is everybody working together and everybody helping each other and staying out of the politics that are going on currently. And I know everybody knows what I'm talking about if you're a musician right now.
A lot of great songwriters, a lot of great
There's a lot of
musicians.
great musicians and songwriters. I think all of us being super supportive of each other is so important, because I feel like for whoever you encounter that's not going to play you, or they have their own personal reasons because they have, a beef with someone else somewhere else, whatever it is. Us as musicians staying together and working together is so important, because I feel like that will suffocate the weeds.
Agreed.
You know what I'm saying?
I think it's the best music
Us
scene
being all the
still.
flowers will suffocate and choke out the weeds, okay?
I think it's still the best music scene. It survived through COVID better than anybody else's did.
Yeah, yeah. One thing I've noticed too is just us all being supportive of each other has helped. All the venues working with us instead of kind of against us is so important, because we're, doing so much more by everybody being on the same page. Because if the venues are working with us, then we're able to get them more money. And then in turn, they're able to give us more money, and drive more success to their business and so on. So I think just everybody working together is so important right now, because, if everybody follows how they feel, we're going to be, a boat stuck in the water without a motor. I was going to say mower. I was looking at the grass outside. It needs to be mowed. Yeah, we would be sitting ducks if we don't work together. So
I agree.
I just think that's so important. And I love working with venues. I love that, every venue we've ever been asked to play at always asked us, when can y'all come back? Like they're ready to have us back already. So just working together and sticking together.
Yeah, from the venue perspective, we have our favorites and we have our least favorites. I've had some artists that came in, played for 90 minutes, unplugged, and then just walked out.
We don't do that. We try to visit with everybody forever. We'll be there talking your ear off for a while, for sure.
And that individual won't get a call back.
I understand.
So is there any, with that said, we're trying to promote, that's kind of why I started this, was try to promote rising stars. And, I see the state of the industry, and I agree with you. I actually talked to a lot of people. We feel that musicians have been getting screwed for a lot of years. So
thank you for acknowledging that.
And it's challenging from a venue perspective. I get it. We have a business to run. You guys have a business, and so we're all trying to do well. But I do agree that, I get some of these younger acts, and I'll tell them on the night when we book them, they're phenomenal. But I said, you agree to the price, I'm going to pay you for it. But I said, you probably need to raise your prices, because you're the second, right? And so I try to give them a little bit of, help as much as we can.
Yeah.
But with that said, is there a fellow artist that you think more people need to know about? Somebody that you know in your orbit that's like, hey, this is somebody I played with, or people need to know who this person is?
Yeah. So it's funny that you said Bree's name earlier, because I'm going to say Bree Bagwell. She is fantastic, and she is a salt of the earth person. I love her. She's awesome. Elle Townley is a new upcoming singer. She's how old is she? Like 15 or 16 years old or something? I don't know. She's a teenager, but she has got a huge voice that's beautiful, beautiful. She's awesome. And she is a sweet girl. I'm trying to think of who else. Howard County. Howard County is amazing with Brandon Howard. They are the coolest people, and they have got some of the best shows I've ever seen. Like, they're great. Carson Clay is new and upcoming, and he's a great one. He has this cool, like, 90s vibe to him. Super cool guy. He's very nice to work with too, and he's a good friend of ours. I'm trying to think. There was somebody. Oh, Celeste Marie Wilson is definitely one to look out for. Celeste Marie Wilson lives down, I'm trying to think, where's she from? Houston, Montgomery, Texas. And she is a singer-songwriter. She's also a published author. And she's really young. She's in her early 20s, and she is going to do big things, great things. Her music is definitely Americana with a little country mixed into it, but she's got a set of pipes on her now that'll blow you away, and she's great.
Cool. And you're still independent, right? You haven't signed up with anybody?
Yeah. So I've had 5 record deals in just a few months
Wow.
or for distribution with like Sony Orchard and things like that. I've turned every single one of them down because they weren't good deals. None of them. Not a one of them. I think 2 of them he didn't even tell me about because he didn't want to hurt my feelings. Yeah. So I'm independent. If the right record label came along and gave us a really good deal and it made sense, then I would probably do that. But
it would have to be like a Cody Johnson story. If you've ever heard his story on how he ended up finally getting a record deal or taking one, it was all on his own terms.
It's got to be on
out. I'm established, so this is what you're going to do.
I think this is a great time to point this out. I think that a lot of artists shortchange themselves.
Great.
You have all these people shoving these deals in your face. And I think as a new artist, you have to be so careful because you don't want to make a mistake and take the wrong one and then be paying for it 2 years later because you're behind. So my advice, I guess, is just read over everything.
Be careful, right?
You'll probably read over it, but
the biggest one is pretty easy. If it's going to cost you as the artist money, that's not a good deal.
No, it's not. So just be smart about what you do and who you pick to be on your team.
And I guess the reason I kind of asked that question, one of the questions I have is what's next up? You talked about you have a new album coming out. You just did a recording, so on that. But you're blowing up in Europe. Any plans for tours over in Europe? Hit some venues over there?
So if we could get a sponsor to help us with the European tour, absolutely.
We've already been offered festivals for next year from the radio promoter in Europe.
Yeah, there's festivals that have already reached out to us and stuff from Europe, especially in what was the region that it was? I'm wanting to say like around Germany area and stuff like that. So, which it's not just Europe, it's been Asia also. Asia, I mean, it's insane. Like we'll look at our stuff and there's people listening to us in Asia, in the United Kingdom. I mean, just all over Africa, Brazil. It's insane.
That's amazing.
You do have another single coming out. He had asked about.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. We've got another single that is coming out called Fireflies in August. And that's going to be a huge song. I feel like everything that we're putting out is just getting better and better. And so I'm really excited to see where that song goes. And
do you know in August, mid-August, first part of August? You can't say really right now.
So it's out on exclusive radio stations right now. There's like 5 stations that we gave it to. This is one of those politics things in Texas country. Some people don't want it, some people do. So I was just like, I'll give it to them myself. And so that's what we did. And it's on certain stations right now, but it's going to streaming August 1st.
And so I think you sent me, and I'll attach those to the video in the down below, but they can find you on all streaming platforms, Apple Music, Spotify, all of those, correct?
Yes, sir. Our new biggest thing that we're currently have is our app. We actually have our own app. You can't buy it in the app store. You have to download it from the internet. And so the site for that is katiebeth.myapp.to. Whenever you get on there and download it and you subscribe to it, it'll put a tile on your home screen of your phone, and it'll send you push notifications of different concerts that we're having or new singles out. And that's the best way to stay updated with what we're currently doing, because that's updated every single day. The other thing would be, and we're giving some merch away too if you subscribe on there. I forgot about that. But it's for exclusive content and videos on there and songs and things. But that also on the website on www.katiebethmihm.com. People can get on there and look at our tour schedule. They can also look at our tour schedule on the app.
The app is the one-stop shop. It's got everything on there. It's basically a mini website that you've got on your phone that'll take you direct to all the socials, to the streaming, to the merchandise, all that tour.
Yeah, and so all the streaming platforms have our music: Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, YouTube. Did I say Spotify? Yeah, I did. Okay. We just got back from vacation recently, and my brain hasn't caught up yet.
Well, fantastic. So you want to play a song for us?
Yeah, we can, absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So what is this song that you're thinking about doing?
Yes, sir. I think we're gonna do Here I Go.
Okay, awesome.
Let me get a drink. I should take this time. LaCroix, sponsor me, please. I love your sparkling water. So we'll just do like a little special version of Here I Go, I guess. Can you hear
Awesome.
us okay?
Yeah, you sound good.
Can you hear his guitar okay?
Yeah.
Or do you want him to move closer?
Maybe a little closer.
No, you're fine. Paint sunsets coming with the morning come. You please everyone. Here I go, walking away. My heart breaks when you beg me to stay. Here I go, you might be better off without me at the end of the day. Here I go, by conditional. I'll be the last one to know. So here I go, walking away. My heart breaks when you beg me to stay. Here I go, walking away. You might be better off without me. End of the day. Here I go. People always give their 2 cents until they walk in your shoes. It don't make any sense if you stay or if you go. Forgiveness only you can show. Here I go, walking away. My heart breaks when you beg me to stay. Here I go, walking away. Might be better off without me at the end of the day. Here I go, here you go. Walking, it shows your heart. Take a new start. So here you go, here I go, away. My heart breaks when you beg me to stay. Here I'm walking away. You might be better off without me at the end of the day. Here I go, go, go. Go, 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 go.
That was awesome. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was great. That song is on your currently available, right? So yes, okay.
That's our song that's number 5 in Europe. Is Here I Go.
Yeah, it's a great song. I can see why it's number 5 in Europe.
It's even better with the full band.
I like though sometimes just hearing it acoustic and just raw. It just that's really fun to me. So yeah, that was fantastic.
I think that's the first time that we've done this for a podcast raw like that.
Yeah, I mean, we've done it at some radio stations, I think.
Yeah, but I don't think we've ever got to do it on a podcast before. Yeah. So thanks for having us do that.
Absolutely. It sounded great. Well, thank you guys. I don't want to take up any more of your time, but I really appreciate you coming on and doing this with me. It's been great. I love talking to artists and just finding out about who they are and hearing their stories. So thank you very much for your time. And
you're welcome. Thanks for your time too.
Absolutely. Well, we'll be in touch and you guys have a good evening and I'll send this video over to you guys. And yeah, thank you very much.
All right. Great.
Thanks.
Have a good evening.
You too. Thank you very much. Bye.